accused the Electoral Commission of bowing to political pressure in its decision to rerun elections in the Ablekuma North constituency. On Wednesday, the Electoral Commission announced that it would conduct a rerun in 19 polling stations to resolve the dispute stemming from the December 7, 2024 polls. The Commission explained that the rerun scheduled for July 11 was necessary because the original pink sheets were destroyed during a chaotic collation process and presiding officers failed to verify the scanned copies. However, the minority leader rejected the decision, accusing the Electoral Commission leadership of acting to protect their jobs. Here's Alexander Apenyomarking earlier today in Parliament.
According to the minority, the integrity of the Electoral Commission is coming under serious question following the Commission's own departure from an earlier decision it took to not rerun elections in the Ablekuma North constituency.
Mr. Speaker, today we have a member in this chamber from Domi Kwabenya because when it was left with some few polling stations, EC relied on tally cards. Aden, Michael Kwe Jr. onu di onye nipa, onye Ghanini. Michael Kwe Jr. protested, but he did not protest with violence. He did not carry his constituent to the EC Collation Center. He expressed his disagreement in a civil way. Today, we have our colleague Akurugu in with us because EC used tally cards to complete the collation process. And when it is clear that the EC was on course to complete this process, we are being told today that there's going to be rerun of some constituencies. It is unfair, it is unjust. Is it the case, and I don't want to believe that that is the case, that the recent public comment by some senior politicians is what is compelling EC perhaps to secure their job? They want to succumb to the whims and caprices of certain extremists or certain hardliners. It is not fair. Maybe today this thing is helping some other people. Tomorrow it may be their turn.
As Alexander Apenyomarking, the minority leader, they're also demanding that the Electoral Commission chairperson and her team appear before Parliament to brief MPs on the matter again. That's what he said earlier today.
I would humbly plead with my colleague opposite me to program the EC. We just received Prime Minister Modi talking about our strides in democracy. Let us not wish them away. In the sub-region, many countries wish they were Ghana. They are not Ghana because they took the institutions for granted, and today they are paying dearly for it. Let's not say to ourselves, had I known. EC must come here and brief us why, in spite of their being unequivocal, they have now changed course. We must not allow this. So, Mr. Speaker, I expect that on issue 1, next week, the EC will be programmed to come and brief the House. We see some people are with all smiles. They are not questioning the 19 because it suits them. We see them, smiles all over, broad smiles on their faces.
As Alexander Apenyomarking there. Well, but in contrast, Mama Yaraga, the majority leader, really found no issue with the Electoral Commission's decision on this matter, the decision to rerun the elections in the 19 polling stations.
The Electoral Commission is saying that their own presiding officers did not verify the 19 polling stations. And because their presiding officer did not verify the 19 polling stations, they don't think that those polling station results should be used. And that is why they are deciding to rerun those 19 polling stations. You made reference to the presentations made by the EC in this House. If you recall, after the EC's presentation, I drew the attention to the fact that the matter in contention was the issue of verification of the pink sheets, the scanned ones, and that their own presiding officers did not verify the pink sheets. And that day he was called on this House to help them to have security to collect the results. And I said that for this House to help you, this House has to verify that what you are telling us is true. And I know because everything happened on television and the presiding officers did not verify those pink sheets. So if you want us to help you, we will conduct an inquiry in this House. And if we establish that your own presiding officers verify those pink sheets, then we will direct the police to come and provide you with the protection you need to collect the results. This is what has made them to go back, think over it, and now decide that they have to come clean on the fact that their own presiding officers did not verify the scanned pink sheets. And if the scanned pink sheets were not verified by their own presiding officers, on what basis should that be used? That is why they are calling for a rerun of those 19 polling stations. I don't know why you are afraid. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? So please let us not try to politicize this and say that because recently the national chairman of one political party made a statement, the EC is intimidated. No, it's just fair and reasonable that if their own officer did not verify those pink sheets, that they should rerun those polling stations.
Majority Leader Mahama Yariga speaking there. Meanwhile, the New Patriotic Party says the EC has no power to conduct a rerun. In Ablekuma North, addressing a news conference, General Secretary Justin Korea Frimpong said the party will challenge the decision. Take a listen.
Only a court of competent jurisdiction that can order a rerun of election duly conducted by the Electoral Commission. So the Electoral Commission has no power, no authority to determine a rerun for Ablekuma North, except by the court. Except by the court. In any case, we have evidence that some of these presiding officers were in fact at the collation center, and where they verified the results from their polling stations. We are a nation of rule of law. We owe it to our dear country, Ghana, and prosperity to rise above our parochial or partisan considerations in order to defend our democratic gains. We in the MPP shall stop at nothing in our quest to ensure that the powers that must be respected and upheld by the democratic right and sovereignty of the good people of Ablekuma North, as expressed by them on 7th of December 2024, is upheld. And therefore, we have caused our legal directorate to challenge the Electoral Commission in court. And today, we shall file in court to challenge the arbitrary, the capricious, the whimsical directive by the Electoral Commission in court. And it is our prayer that in spite of the intimidation and victimization of our judges, we will get a good judge who will be firm and speak for the truth. But when the truth speaks, certainly we will be vindicated, and our candidate will be declared the winner of Ablekuma North.
That's Justin Korea there. And yesterday I spoke to the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC, Rashid Tanko Computer, on Ghana Tonight. And he also, contrary to what the MPP has also put out today, holds the view that the Electoral Commission had a meeting with the political parties that led to this decision, as has been communicated. Take a listen.
to your cherished viewers and listeners as well. This is good news for democracy. I mean, democracy is one thing that we have chosen for ourselves in Ghana, that we should be governed by rule of law and not somebody whims and caprices. And so I am so happy with the outcome of the decision by the Electoral Commission to rerun 19 polling stations. Alfred, let me run you through some issue that came out about 2 weeks ago. We had a meeting with the Electoral Commission. I was part of the meeting with my colleague Madi and our council Edwiji. The MPP was led by their Director of Election, Evans, and a former MP. In that meeting, it came out that the 62 that we were following them up, that they should have a rerun for the 62 polling stations. 25 of them were not scanned copies. They were carbon copies being presented by the MPP then. So we were magnanimous at the meeting. We agreed that fine, since they were carbon copies and not scanned copies, we will accept them as being true reflection of the elections. So the 25 carbon copies results were added. So that reduced the margin to 37. Now the rest of the 37 were scanned copies. And then that was how we ended the 37. And that's why the MPP is not telling the general public. The NDC were magnanimous at that meeting and said, look, we want resolution to this Ablekuma North matter. And therefore, these 25, which were carbon copies, we will accept them. And we accepted them. And they added, so that's why it reduced to 37. Now, with these 37, which were scanned copies, we told them that, look, let's go for a rerun for the 37 because they are scanned copies. We cannot accept it. Then the MPP, they were still insisting that they wanted the 37 to be taken out and leave with only 3 so that the 3, they can be used to declare them as winners. That's what they were trying to do. And we said, how can we rely on your scanned copies?
I see.
Who accept that? And then so the Electoral Commission with the 2 parties involved, that is the NDC and MPP, we all agreed that, look, this is the position we have presented to you. Go into conclave.
Right.
You are the commissioners. Take a decision on it and report back to us. Then we'll look at it critically. Then before that, we realized that Dr. Bosman Asari was in Parliament reporting and talking about the issue when they hadn't gotten back to us. So we knew that whatever Dr. Bosman Asari was telling Parliament was not the true reflection of what transpired at the IPAC meeting that we held.
I see.
And he sat through it.
If you say it wasn't a true reflection, he had indicated, in fact, that he was asked a direct question as to whether a rerun of the elections in these contested polling stations is one that is going to be considered or is an option for the Electoral Commission at all. And he ruled that out 2 weeks ago, that the rerun was not an option. And 2 weeks on, we're hearing this position by the Electoral Commission. What could have changed? What could have changed?
That is, Alfred, that is where we as a political party, the NDC, we are surprised at the 10th of event when he went to Parliament and made such statement. Because that was not a true reflection of what happened at the IPAC meeting. In fact, we're all there. In fact, Madam Jean Mensa herself presided over the meeting. And where we accepted the 25 to be taken away from the 62 and reduce it to 37. And we said they should go and look at the 37 at conclave and report back to us. So we're going to have another meeting with them. Fortunately, the second meeting was held yesterday, and my colleague represented us. So when the meeting was held, it came out that out of the 37 that were still contesting, 18 of them, their presiding officers came and authenticated the 18 scanned copies and said, yes, it was true reflection. They actually had the results at their polling stations. And
that's Rashid Tanko Computer, as the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC there. Now, let's get a bit further into this particular issue. And Dr. Samuel Efrey is a political analyst and a lecturer. He's been following the evolution of events in the Ablekuma North constituency. Bear in mind, this constituency is still not represented in Parliament. That's the only constituency without representation in this 9th Parliament. Doc, appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, Alfred. Good evening.
Now, this is the decision by Electoral Commission. 19 polling stations would have to rerun their elections on the 11th of July. The NPP says they do not agree. They're going to test the law on this matter. They think that the EC is bound to political pressure. NDC says, well, there were a series of meetings, and it is the result of this meeting the Electoral Commission has communicated. How do you see things playing out in the end?
Yeah, Alfred, it's quite unfortunate how events has turned to be in this situation that we find ourselves. We all know that the Ablekuma elections is in limbo because of some kind of what we call it, the pink sheet of about some few polling stations. But I think is the EC that is trying to make the issues more cancerous, meaning that trying to make to make it out the situation. Because I even just as I was listening to you said about even 2 weeks ago, Bosman was in Parliament saying that there was no need for rerun of these polling stations, but just some 2 days or weeks, then you come back and say that there will be a rerun. You see, when you do this, then you allow us to read meanings to your actions and inactions. And this is quite unfortunate for EC. And EC should be very cautious in some of these kind of events as they move along with some of these elections situations. Because when you do that, you just give room for wrong interpretation of certain actions. And that is what we need to prevent. Because what is happening now, whatever being the case, you have allowed these parties to interpret it in a more different perspective. And when it happens, then it makes the credibility of your results or the outcome to be so murky. And that is what need to be avoided in this development in terms of elections. And that is what EC need to avoid. Because after when you look at what is happening, we are not saying that there should be, because even previous kind of in previous constituencies, about 2024 election, you can even realize that there were some of these issues there. But as time evolves, then try to handle some of these issues. But I don't know why Ablekuma North has become so difficult, and it has become so difficult because of because when you look at the trend, it's only 1992 that the NDC had the seat, and all these while in the various elections, the MPP and the 2024, the gap closed, and that is why the NDC think of clinking trying to take the seat, and that is where the issue comes in terms of how competitive the seat has become. And we know that it's quite unfortunate that the EC had no any other mechanism, no any other option that was available for the EC not to have any copy of their own to authenticate what the parties are holding. And that is quite unfortunate, because EC, you are the one that organized it. If there's any kind of issue that goes along, you are the one to determine. You want to just give that credibility of the results. But this is where we find ourselves, that the EC cannot prove itself in this kind of situation, and it's quite unfortunate. I see, but this is that the EC needs to sit up.
And this is a constituency the MPP has won since it was created, and so exactly. You have some others who also make the point that, I mean, if they have that history, it would also play out to their advantage. So, I mean, why don't you then go ahead with this election as has been communicated by the Electoral Commission? What do you make of the concerns that the MPP has raised on all of this?
The MPP will not let it go, Alfred, just like that, because I don't think that you may have a control over something for a while, and all of a sudden you just want to let it slip by. That is what the MPP is holding on tight, because they believe that is their stronghold. They believe that is their seat and they will not let things go. So you have to understand where the MPP is coming from. And until there's a proven evidence that they have won, they will not let it go. So they will try to go use any other means, as even I said earlier in one of your stations, that they will try to enchant the process to ensure that they get hold of that seat. So from their perspective, I think nobody can begrudge them for the actions that they are taking. And I think everyone could have taken that position. I
do appreciate you for this. Thank you so much, Doc, for your time.
My pleasure.
Dr. Samuel Efreye is a political analyst and lecturer as well. And my colleague, Gold Armstrong Alogbe, is in the constituency and is joining us on the telephone as well. Armstrong, what have they been telling you?
So, Alfred, the message to the NDP national office seems to have gone down well within the constituency because the electorate here, that is those who are affiliated to the MPP, initially took to the street to campaign until later this afternoon when the information came that they are going to challenge this decision by the EC. So these guys have to back down from their campaign. And at a point in time, they wouldn't even want to talk to the media again because initially they wanted the media also to help them disseminate the information to the other constituents who are the various 19 police stations. They will not talk to us again. So that is exactly what is happening. But for the NDC, they are still moving from door-to-door campaigning to ensure that they snatch this seat from the NPP once and for all, knowing that this is not their stronghold and that anything can happen on the 11th of July. Alfred.
I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. I'm Sean Gold Alogbe there in the Ablekuma North constituency. Let's go to the presidency now.
President John Dramani